Welcome to Business Elevated, a Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity podcast. We explore the stories and strategies behind Utah's thriving economy. I'm Pete Codella. Protein bars are notoriously difficult to finish. Whether it's the texture or the taste, protein seekers can agree that while they may be a great way to get extra protein, they can be challenging to enjoy. Blue Unicorn is looking to change that. With a light, fluffy, plant-based protein formula dipped in chocolate, they aim for the wrapper to be the only thing hitting the trash. Today we're talking with Jason Christensen, founder and CEO of Blue Unicorn. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be with you, Pete.
Tell our listeners what your connection is to the state of Utah. How long have you lived and worked here?
I've lived in Utah my whole life. Grew up in what was once Granger, became West Valley. And then I've otherwise lived in Provo and Utah County for the last about 30 years now.
What do you like to do in Utah's great outdoors?
Oh, we love everything. I love to ski. I love to visit national parks. I love taking my family, and we try to hit different places every year throughout the state. It's an amazing place.
Let's talk about your professional experience. I think you have things like marketing and home services and professor and food entrepreneur in your background. Talk about your career journey, your path.
My background originally, I went to Brigham Young University, and while I was a student there, I was introduced to doing sales. So I, like a lot of college students, I went out and knocked doors. I did really well at the time. It was a summer job. And then after I graduated, I had to go get a real job. The company that I'd worked for, I had done really, really well in sales, and they asked me to come back and start up a new types of sales. It was pest control that I had done, and it was in 98. They asked me to come back and start a home security sales program. I did that, and that kind of opened up something where eventually I started a company called North Star that was a home security, home automation business, and did that for almost 20 years. Sold that to private equity about 12 years ago. From there, I stayed on for several years after that, but the last 5 years, I started teaching at the business school at BYU in the entrepreneurial management department. So I've been, semi-retired for a few years anyway. Just most recently, I had to go back to work and co-founded a company that's in the nutrition space, a protein bar company.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. I want to point out, I think it's really useful and helpful for students in college to have professors who have real world experience and bring that experience into the classroom. What have you learned from teaching at BYU?
So I started this class about 5 years ago as an adjunct professor. There wasn't really a class like it at BYU at the time, but it's really focused on aspiring entrepreneurs and teaching, principles of sales and persuasion, kind of a broad-based approach to selling. As an entrepreneur, really you're involved in sales in every aspect of what you're doing. You're raising capital, you're recruiting, hiring people, and even, selling a vision on top of, selling products and services. This was a course that with the support of the department, we developed this class, and it was just a new class that had never been taught. And since then, it's, I've been doing it for 5 years, and that's really all it is it's drawing from professional experiences. So, I spend most of the time, it's, sharing personal experiences to help illustrate principles. The students would tell you they hear stories every day.
So Brigham Young University is sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that organization encourages its 19, 20-year-olds to go serve proselyting missions. Do you think that missionary experience helps BYU students be more successful as entrepreneurs and better at sales and marketing?
I think there's nothing better than that to help those students that want to take that path. As a missionary, you're very independent, and you learn all sorts of principles of accountability and responsibility and being on your own. That whole idea, all of that plays really well into futures in entrepreneurship.
And perhaps you've heard about our Startup State initiative to support Utah entrepreneurs, and kind of the brand that we're building on is the startup capital of the world. It feels like the culture here in Utah, the approach to business, to getting things done is just very entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. I'm around these students and it's incredibly inspiring. And there's, organizations that are doing a really great job supporting and, helping to incubate these startups. For me, I love it because it's just always inspiring to be around and to see the ideas and the caliber of people that are involved in these things.
Yeah, probably 10 or 15 years ago, you didn't set out to teach entrepreneurship at BYU, is my guess.
Well, I mean, the crazy thing is that as a college student, being an entrepreneur wasn't even on my radar at all. Like that wasn't even anything I'd ever even considered at that time. And, this was 30 years ago, but my plan was to follow this path to go graduate, get some work experience, and then go to MBA school, with the idea that someday if I did really well and, that I could work my way up to an executive role at a large company. And it never occurred to me the idea of, well, I could actually do that just by starting my own company. And I feel like I sort of fell into entrepreneurship, but it wasn't ever my original aspiration.
Well, let's talk about Blue Unicorn. What inspired its creation?
I met the person who's really kind of the Willy Wonka behind Blue Unicorn. His name is Dr. Luke Tolley. And I met him just about 2 years ago for the first time. I was introduced to Dr. Tolley. So Dr. Tolley is this really unique combination. He's just this brilliant person, but at heart, he's like a culinary artist who would really just love to be in the kitchen making decadent desserts. And he literally, he'll make his own chocolate from the bean. So he'll bring, different varieties of chocolate from the Ivory Coast. And so he's always doing these kinds of things, but he's also a PhD in chemistry. He's a food scientist. He understands how, on a molecular level, almost how specifically specializing in protein and protein analysis. So he had been working on this for the last several years, had been working on developing a new protein bar. Most protein bars are made out of whey protein. And, one of the problems with that is that there are really millions of people that struggle to tolerate whey protein, just any, sometimes gastrointestinal things and sometimes minor up to severe allergies.
Is whey a plant, a vegetable?
The whey is a dairy based. It's, is derived from milk. That's been the primary source of protein is dairy based protein. So he'd been working on something that was a plant based alternative for the last several years, in part to solve this problem. I met Dr. Tolley. He showed me the macronutrients on, just kind of a sheet that showed like how much protein, this prototype that he had created, how much protein and how many calories. I hadn't been involved in consumer products, but I've eaten protein bars for 25 years. I've been an avid consumer of protein bars and I've eaten hundreds of different protein bars. So when he showed me the macros on it, I was like, these are really good, but it looked really like what I would call a functional protein bar.
Functional meaning it doesn't taste good?
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I mean is that functional in that someone that goes to the gym they felt like it was going to give them edge, they would eat it.
Just force themselves to eat it to get the protein.
Yeah, you would choke it down. And that's what it looked like. The macros were so good that I was like, okay, this is going to be 2 bites and then I'm going to tap out. I tried it. And I was completely blown away. I was like, if you didn't even tell me, if I didn't even know this had protein, I would eat this as a treat, like as an alternative to a candy bar or something like that. I mean, literally, it tasted like a treat to me. And I've never had anything like it, nothing that compared. And I loved it. I took some home to my wife and my kids. I mean, that's another thing, when your kids are just asking for it over and over, they ask, do you have any more of those bars? And I was like, this is really unique. This is different. This is a game changer. That's how I looked at it. I wasn't really necessarily looking to jump into a business, but for me, it was like, we want to be able to buy these. We just want to have them. If that's what we have to do to be able to have them, then we'll go ahead and, we ended up kind of coming together with Dr. Tolley and forming a partnership. And that was the birth of Blue Unicorn.
How'd you come up with the name?
That's a good question. So what's funny is that very first night, the night that I met Dr. Tolley and the night I tried the bar, I kept saying, I was like, man, this is like the holy grail of protein bars. I said, this is like a unicorn. You have these products that are functional and they're really low sugar and high protein, but the eating experience is very low, And then you have like maybe there are other like even protein products where they taste really good, but they have lots of fat, lots of sugar, high calories. Those ones taste good, and everything could kind of sort of fall along this line. I'm like, this is off the chart. This tastes like a treat, but it has the functional benefits of a protein bar. We talked about it, and that was one of the words we used was unicorn. This is a unicorn. And then, we started looking at names and we stumbled onto it. We both loved the name and we went with it.
So manufacturing, I think, is a challenge. What has been your experience with taking this concept and then building the manufacturing so you have product to sell?
I mean, there's a lot of protein products out there that are very similar. So they differentiate through marketing. Marketing is kind of the differentiator with the product. This is a very unique product. How it's produced, it's different than, just about anything. We manufacture the bar. We produce it ourselves.
Is that in Utah Valley?
We're based in Springville, so we have a little facility, and that's been difficult. And especially in our case, because we are both, we're producing the bars, we're selling. And so you're kind of like driving two buses and they have to stay right together, at the same time. We can't produce too many bars, but we have to keep up with as the demand scales. We're a pretty small company right now.
How many employees?
One of the employees that came on right at the very beginning actually was one of my students. And he stepped into this, and he's really since stepped into a role of operations and overseeing the production and manufacturing. And he's done an incredible job. He came on originally as an intern, and then that's kind of grown into a full-time role where he's overseeing, all the production employees. Full-time employees, there's 4 of us right now. We're growing quickly, so we're adding, and we have several, maybe half dozen production employees as well.
Did you outsource the branding, like the design of the wrapper and the logo and stuff?
So my wife and I co-founded the company with Dr. Tolley. I would say she was really super involved as we were creating this brand. Even in that process, we engaged with a group of students in the marketing department at BYU, and they took it on as a project and went out and did some surveys and different things. And that was super helpful. We actually ended up following a lot of their ideas and recommendations. But we worked with another Utah company called Super Top Secret, and they kind of collaborated with them and worked through that whole process of creating brand and the logo and packaging and all of that. It was a lot of fun. My wife actually came up with this. The unicorn that we have is this alpaca unicorn, and that was, we don't want it just to be just like a regular unicorn. And part of that is because it's fluffy, and if you try the protein bars, the Blue Unicorn bars, they're fluffy. They're almost more like a kind of a marshmallow type texture, which is very, very different. And so she had this idea, and part of it is my daughter actually raises alpaca. We have alpacas.
Oh, wow. Just in the backyard?
Yeah, we raise alpacas.
The mascot is on site.
We put a couple of little unicorn horns on a couple of them in July and put them in on a float and did the Mapleton parade. That was actually really fun, that whole process.
You've highlighted something that I'll point out, and that is, like you, I've tried lots of protein bars. I don't look like it, but I spend quite a bit of time in the gym. I was concerned with the kind of marshmallow texture. I'm like, I'm going to be chewing this for 5 minutes. But your bar dissolves quickly. You don't have to chew it a lot.
I mean, one of our slogans is no more half-eaten protein bars. Everyone has in their mind what a protein bar is. You have this concept of it. And it's funny because, we'll do these events and we give out samples of the Blue Unicorn. And without fail, it's like people try it and then their eyes kind of bug out immediately. And sometimes they don't know if they even like it or not yet. It takes them like a second, because it's so unexpected always. Generally, most people are like, I love this. This is amazing.
Talk about marketing a protein bar. Like you mentioned, there have to be hundreds of these things. How do you stand out?
I guess we start off by looking at, what are the problems, that we're trying to solve? And number one is that just probably first and foremost, and this is sort of the most universal problem, is that most people tolerate our protein. We eat things, it's not because we enjoy it. We just do it because we want to do something that's good for us. So the idea of just making it into just something that like actually you look forward to, like this is my treat in the afternoon, 3-4 o'clock, I'm going to eat a Blue Unicorn and I'm looking forward to it. Also that than this problem of providing accessible protein for these people that have some sort of an allergy. It's plant-based, so that means it's dairy-free. The other allergies that are super common, there's a lot of people who have nut allergies and gluten. Our bar doesn't contain any of those as well. So it's very accessible, but lots of people have said, this is amazing. And, either myself or my son or my daughter, or my sister, whatever. So that's been really cool to be able to solve those kinds of problems for people. The other thing is the bar has such low sugar that we've had several people that are diabetics that have said, this is actually a protein bar that I can eat. And I love it. It's awesome. I mean, we're solving real problems for people. And, I feel like it's improving the quality of people's lives if they can make better nutrition choices and enjoy those.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking for the best place to grow your business? Welcome to Utah, ranked the #1 state for economic outlook 18 years running. Make the move to join global leaders in advanced manufacturing, aerospace and defense, life sciences and healthcare, software and IT, and financial services. With a young, educated workforce, smart tax incentives, and an unmatched quality of life, Utah is where innovation meets opportunity. Learn more at business.utah.gov.
Does most of the sugar come from that coating, or is the sugar also in the bar?
So, that's a great question. Yeah, the only sugar is in the dark chocolate.
And it's a really thin coating of chocolate.
Yeah, it's only 3 grams of sugar is in the entire bar, which is that's a very low amount of sugar for something like this.
How much protein?
15 grams of protein. It's only 120 calories, so this is just about the most, protein-dense protein bar really available. If you look at the protein per calorie, you compare it, I've only heard of one bar that has, that's possible, there's others, but one that has more protein per calorie than ours.
What flavors does Blue Unicorn come in?
So when we launched the company, we started with 3 flavors. There's a double chocolate, a raspberry, and mint. Just this week, we rolled out 2 new flavors, and then there's people are super excited about these. This is English toffee and toasted coconut, and they're awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement. This week's been busy for us.
What's your distribution like here along the Wasatch Front?
We started off, actually, the very first sell that we made was to the Good Earth markets, and they're, Utah company. They have 7 locations. We went in, I met with them and showed them the bar, and we had never even actually even produced any bars before that. And so we went in and we had all the packaging. So I came in with it all finished and ready to go. So we brought it in as a finished product, and they said, these are great. We'll take 3,000. I was like, oh man. I went back, I told my partner, and he about had a heart attack that we had to make 3,000 bars, and we got that order filled. But then shortly after that, we opened our online store and started selling online. And so that's actually direct to consumer. And so we will ship out bars right now all over the country.
How does the bar fare in a hot transportation environment with the chocolate?
It's really, really hard. That's been a major challenge. That was a major challenge for us this summer. We got through the summer okay. We were fortunate we were able to take some steps to get some materials brought in before the summer to be able to handle it and manage it.
You just ship them with an ice pack or something?
Yeah, we'll put a carton in there. We have another insulated box with some refrigerant that we'll add into it. And it's worked not perfectly because if somebody receives it, if it sits on a front porch in Arizona, it's been a pretty small percentage. It's a problem because this is another thing. Most protein bars don't use real chocolate. Most people don't. A lot of people don't know that. It looks like chocolate. It's brown and it's, made with fractionated palm oil. It's not cocoa butter. The reason for that is because it's cheaper and the melting point can be a little bit different than real chocolate. So sometimes it could be easier to handle. The trade-off is there's nothing like real chocolate, 100% real chocolate, and the experience, the snap of real chocolate and how it melts in your mouth, nothing compares. And we're really particular about that. So we wanted to maintain real chocolate, and we're having to deal with it though, on that end. It's hard during the summer.
Do you do live events? I'm curious if you're at a football game or something.
We do. And that's the other thing I'd say, kind of the go-to-market here locally has been, we started this last fall, and right now we do farmers markets. Starting in September, once it got kind of cool enough, we're doing farmers markets every night. We do a farmers market, or every day almost of the week. And we've been doing a lot of events, the Mountain America Expo. We've done some things with Utah Tech Week and Silicon Slopes, and, where we've gone in, and we will make little sample size pieces of the bars and hand those out. That's the best way to introduce it. If they try a sample, a very high percentage of those people will want to buy the bars.
How did you come up with the pricing for the bars?
Our bar's a little bit more expensive. It's a premium product. Like I said, it's real chocolate, and and with the protein and the ingredients and things, it's certainly a challenge. Obviously, we kind of have to look at just the landscape and where products are priced, and and our cost, and try to come up with something that allows us to be able to stay in business, a margin that's going to allow us to stay in business and move forward. That said, I think our bar is very much in line with other premium bars out there.
As you scale, do you think there's another manufacturing facility, maybe not in Utah? Are there other products that you're looking at?
Yeah, as we scale, we're already kind of, looking at how we can kind of scale that production to meet the demand that we're seeing and this increase in sales. We'll certainly outgrow where we are very soon. We're adding equipment immediately because we are already going to be going into more retail. And so, yeah, that's certainly going to be a process to manage that part of it. And then you asked, I guess your other question is about other products. What's really cool is Dr. Tolley is like always in the kitchen, let's say, and he's always working on new ideas, and kind of like come up with this idea of the product has to be what we call in the unicorn zone. For us, it's like, if we're going to do something else, it's going to be special. It's going to be kind of sort of revolutionizing. Our goal is to revolutionize the protein bar. We call it a chocolate dip protein treat already. That's what we call it. The way we, is we just say it's a treat. So if something fits in that world of like a treat, then we're interested, and we're looking at some different things. It's nothing that's going to be immediate, but we do have some really cool products, I think, that eventually we'd love to roll out under the brand.
What new retailers do you have lined up?
We'll be launching in Harmon's at the beginning of November. That'll be a good one. Really concentrate. Once again, we can keep that focus here in Utah specifically. And that's primarily, we want to roll out, really put all of our focus here locally, in trying to establish some brand identity.
Have you financed the company personally, or do you have investors?
We have one minority investor, but yeah, everything has been financed personally.
Would you want to go on a show like Shark Tank or something to expand your market and get more exposure?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we hadn't looked at it too closely, right now, but I think, once we probably scale some of our manufacturing capability and things like that, that certainly could be a fun thing to do. I think it would resonate well with the sharks.
Yeah, I do too. What do you like best about being an entrepreneur?
I think what I love is just being part of the process of creation. And I even think back to like when we started talking about this idea with Blue Unicorn, and now all of a sudden it's like to see a product on its shelf, it's existing, and it's not just exists, but it has an identity, and there's meaning, and all of those things. And so I think that's one of the greatest things, is anytime you can be part of that whole process of beginning with an idea and then manifesting it into reality. I think it's a powerful thing.
What advice would you give to another entrepreneur? One piece of advice.
This is always hard for me to give it in a short answer, but one of the principles, at the beginning of the semester in my class at BYU, when I taught, originally going into sales, but in leadership, I'd still say there's one principle that always kind of stands out, that if you can learn to embrace it, I think it's the best indicator of someone that will be successful. And the way that we talk about it is, we teach it as, we start by teaching what is the opposite of it. So the opposite of this principle, we call it the victim mentality. The victim being the person that is always placing blame and making excuses, but really that the way that they look at the world is that the outcomes and the results are always due to external factors. It's other people, others, and circumstances. And so the flip side of that is that we embrace the principle of accountability. And the way that we define it, or the way that I've talked about it, at least in my class, is with the definition of it, I take responsibility for my results. Meaning that, it's the opposite. If the victim sees that everything everything, the results come from external factors, then under this paradigm of accountability, I look at results and I see that I'm the source. And I think when we're able to practice that, and adopt that and make that sort of paradigm shift, that to me is the most powerful principle of success in entrepreneurship.
So based on your experience, you've done a few different things here in Utah. What's most rewarding about being a part of Utah's business community?
I don't know that I even necessarily felt this as much 25 years ago when I started North Star. This business in particular, we just interact way more with different people within the community. And there's a spirit of generosity and people that just reached out, that they want to help and be supportive. I go to these different events and, there's just this a really, I think, unique spirit and energy in everything that we've done here that I don't know, to me, it feels like it's a unique thing. And I haven't been an entrepreneur in another state, so I can't, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I've loved all of the interactions that we've had with some of these groups and organizations. It's inspiring to be a part of.
Where's the best place for people to order their own Blue Unicorn protein bar?
blueunicorn.com. That's it. Just blueunicorn.com. And you'll see a picture of my wife front and center. That's the mother model for the website. That's the best place to go.
We've been speaking with Jason Christensen, founder and CEO of Blue Unicorn. Thanks for taking some time to join us on the podcast.
Thanks, Pete. It's been fun to be with you.
Here is a quick update from the Economic Opportunity Office for the week of September 28th, 2025. Congratulations to the awardees who will be recognized by Governor Cox at the One Utah Summit on October 6th through the 8th. Business Person of the Year, Corey Wright, owner of Bar W Beef, and Business of the Year, The Creamery in Beaver, Utah. These individuals and companies have significantly contributed to economic development, local communities, and industry in Utah and beyond. To learn more about any of our updates, please visit business.utah.gov.
Thanks to our office marketing communications team for their work on this episode. You can find and follow us on social media at Business Utah. Please feel free to email us with feedback or episode suggestions at business@utah.gov. The Business Elevated podcast is published by the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. I'm your host, Pete Codella. Thanks for listening.
The views and opinions of podcast guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity or the state of Utah.